All right. All right. So going live. This is new to me. I started this because I wanted to be able to engage more with people. I don't know how people are going to show up. I kind of did this kind of spontaneously. Um, so it's okay if nobody shows up. We're going to make this a regular occurrence, and I'm trying to start soliciting questions and doing this in the future. The My name is Country Boy. I'm from the One Mic Black History Podcast. The plan here today was that I would solicit questions and then I would go and answer those questions a couple days later on live, and we see how far this sort of thing gets me. I had a few problems when I did this initially because I didn't get that many questions. I put this on social media, Substack, on YouTube, and I really only got like maybe two questions about you know asking me questions. So I'm going to answer the questions that I have in depth and see how far that gets me at the end of this. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask about Black history, we'll kind of talk about it. It's fine. It's fine. It's going to be a good time. This right here, up here in the corner, is my Substack. You know, click the QR code. You can check out my Substack. I could post different content or a written form, a written version of some of the videos that I've completed. I wanted to start to kind of do this as a way to create content outside of the videos I create, and also so you can kind of see me, so you can get used to me. Uh Here's the thing: the questions that I got were great. I'm really excited about the few questions that were sent in. Um, Hang on, I'm gonna shout those people out because they were awesome. They were awesome. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't I wasn't ready. Yeah, Blueberry 5649 and Trent Bates 3114. You guys are awesome. These are awesome questions. We're going to answer those questions now, and it should be a lot of fun. To the guy who put "Make America Great Again," I hope your pants are tight and your socks are always wet. You suck ass. Like, bro, why are you coming into black places just to bother people for no other purpose? Like, you could be hugging your wife, touching grass, going outside, but you came here to bother me for what? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And never in my life have I said, "Hey, I'm not doing nothing on a Saturday. Let me go bother white folks." It's not something that we do. Anyway, let's get to the questions. And if you guys, while you listen to this, you have any questions for me, I'll answer them afterwards. Which U.S. city was the first to start the practice of redlining in black communities? So those are unaware. Redlining is the practice of labeling neighborhoods, specifically those in minority and black folks communities, as risky for loans and investment. Beginning in the 1930s, it started as part of federal housing policy and was carried out by the Homeowners Loan Corporation, which created residential security maps for cities across the United States during the Great Depression. One of the earliest and most influential of those cities was Chicago. So the thing about Chicago is Chicago was a major hub for the Great Migration. Between 1910 and 1970, 500,000 of us migrated from southern cities to Chicago. So when maps were created by the Homeowners Loan Corporation, neighborhoods where black families lived, they often were labeled as hazardous and shaded in red. This was not because they were bad neighborhoods. It was specifically because the residents of those neighborhoods were black. As a result, the people living in those neighborhoods were denied access to mortgages, could not easily invest in their homes, and had difficulty starting and expanding their businesses. Over generations, these restrictions caused lasting loss of economic opportunity and wealth accumulation, deepening this racial segregation and contributing to economic disparities and poverty in black communities. To answer the question that was asked, although redlining was a widespread practice, the Chicago maps were some of the first and some of the most thoroughly documented and set the stage for other cities. Basically, they were the progenitor to everybody else and were the guidelines at which the other cities used for their redlining processes. So while there may be other cities, and you could argue who was the very, very first to do redlining in Black communities, the most influential, the one that set the standard for everybody, which everyone else was set, uh, um, did their redlining policies by, was Chicago. So the answer would be Chicago. That would be my answer. Um, redlining was officially outlawed in 1968 with the Fair Housing Act, which made it illegal to discriminate against housing based off race and other protected categories. The interesting thing about this is I talk about something like this on my Substack. One of the notes that I post, I talked about things that it only exists because of racism, and that day that was HOAs. Uh, in it, what I basically state is that housing associations weren't created just to keep your neighborhoods nice, but they were built to keep them exclusively white. After racial zoning was struck down in the early 1900s, white developers created racial covenants that blocked Black families from owning homes. When Shelley versus Kramer in 1948 made those covenants unenforceable, HOAs stepped up to privately enforce segregation through fees, design rules, and income requirements. And some early HOAs just simply exclusively banned, um, explicitly required white home ownership. Today, while HOAs can't ban the sale of homes based on race, they still use coded language like aesthetics and noise to police Black homeowners. All of these things would mix together when you put the GI Bill with racial covenants, with redlining, with HOAs. It created a wall of economic disenfranchisement and blocked Black families from the single greatest source of wealth in the United States at the time, home ownership. When you look back, you say, why are things the way they are? Why are we in this position? How come we don't have generational wealth? How come we don't, there aren't other Black Wall Streets? How come we don't have more Black businesses? It's because the system was designed this way. This is not a flaw. This is a feature. This is exactly the way they wanted. They wanted to keep you disenfranchised and disadvantaged. And in the case of HOAs, this hurt white families also. They were being policed by these same HOAs, and its policies affected them also. But they were completely okay eating shit if it meant that it kept you disenfranchised. Anyway, so this second question, which was a good one, and it's a bit outside my purview. I had to do some research on this because I did not know the answer off the top of my head. And this is what makes it a really, really great question. So it states that when did marriage rates among white women become higher than those among their Black counterparts, and why did this happen? For much of America's history, Black women's marriage rates were very similar or even higher than that of white women. In fact, in 1950, 64% of Black women were married compared to 67% of white women, that's nothing. That's a relatively narrow gap. That change dramatically shifted in the late 60s and early 70s. And by 1980, only 38% of Black women were married compared to 56% of their white counterparts, a gap that would only continue to widen. So the question here is why? What was the catalyst for a lot of these things? First and foremost, mass incarceration and economic hardship among Black men. When Black men talk about a war, there was a war against them. This is basically what you could point to. The number of incarcerated Black men skyrocketed in the late 20th century. By 2000, 1 in 3 Black men were projected to be incarcerated in some point in their life. This, coupled with high unemployment rates, reduced the pool of economically stable Black men, a key factor in declining marriage rates. When you talk about high unemployment during the same time period, late 60s, early 70s, the unemployment rate among Black men was almost double that of their white counterparts. And what this did was create a stage of unavailable Black men because they were incarcerated, and the ones that were available were not economically stable enough to want to get married to someone, to be able to marry someone. It's very hard to decide that you want to sign up, marry someone when you're struggling to put food on your own table, when you're unemployed. The second one, and we kind of talked about this, but of course, money will play a huge factor in this. But the second point is economic advantages in white communities. Post-war America, like the GI Bill and access to federally backed home loans disproportionately affected white families. By 1984, the median wealth of white families was 10 times that of Black household, a gap that was rooted in housing discrimination and job discrimination, wealth accumulation, what we just talked about, not in the earlier question. This economic advantage made marriage more financially viable for white families, and while Black families continue to be shut out of wealth accumulation opportunities. I don't know why I didn't realize this, but this makes complete sense because always follow the money. When you look at things, we look at things from a perspective. If you are not in a position financially, and this kind of goes back to the economic hardships and unemployment, if you're not in a position economically, you're less likely to get married. So everything comes back to the redlining, the zoning, the GI Bill, all those things. Not only did it affect your ability to accumulate wealth, but it also affected Black families as a whole. And the last one is extra. It's extra diabolical because these were government policies. A lot of government programs that was offered in the late 60s disincentivized marriage. So it reduced benefits for two-parent households. These policies were hardest hit in disenfranchised and disadvantaged Black communities. According to a study in 1965, only 25% of Black families were headed in 1965, 25% of Black families were headed by single mothers at a time. This is a number that grew significantly in subsequent decades, reaching 66% in 2021, compared to only 25% of their white counterparts. To wrap a nice, pretty bow on this whole entire thing, by the early 70s, white marriages clearly surpassed that of white women's marriages clearly surpassed that of Black women, a gap they continued to grow into the 1980s. And by 2012, just 26% of Black women over the age of 18 were married versus 51% of white women. This is a gap that is clearly visible in this legacy of economic inequality and racial discrimination and policies that reshaped the structure of Black families. So once again, when you look back at things, you state, why are we here? Why do I have a Black family? Why did my mother never get married? All these things. There were a lot of factors, and a lot of them were socially set up. A lot of things were stacked against you. The decks were heavily stacked against you. So now that you know these things, what do you do? What do you do with that moving forward? Right? You ask why we don't have generational wealth. Well, now you kind of have to be the change that you want to be in the world. Like I didn't have a house that was lent to me that I could then sell and turn into an upcoming business. But now you could do those things for your son. You know, you didn't have your father in your household, but now you can do those things for your son. Right? This is what we do. You want to be the change or the person that you didn't have in your life. And I think this is a great opportunity moving forward for not only for us to be aware of our history, but change to affect that history. So those things are the past. When you're aware of why things are the way they are, you're less likely to tread over those same mistakes. Anyway, those were the two questions that I had. They were great questions. Shout out to the two people that asked them. I'm going to try to continue this. I want to make this like a bi-weekly off weeks when I'm not creating videos and continue to do this sort of thing. I'm going to check the chat, see if anybody asked any questions. I had put it away because I could not see nothing. They are. Black women are the most educated demographic. My wife herself has 2 degrees and I don't have any. she got enough degrees for the both of us. She got a degree for me and her. I honestly think it's wonderful. And honestly, if I had an opportunity to go back and do it again, I would 100% go and go to college and get my degree. I don't know if that's in the cards for me. If I had a chance to go back, it'd probably just to be better, to learn more about history, to be better at storytelling for you guys. HOA is a homeowners association. Basically, what they're designed to do is police people in a given neighborhood. A lot of times when you sign up for your home, you sign up to be in this HOA and say that these guys can kind of police me based on the policies that they set. I'm here complaining about an HOA and I have an HOA. Like every day I fight with them. They sent me a letter the other day telling me that I was like 1 month behind on my HOA payments and threatened to not let me use the pool that I wasn't using anyway. That I have fundamental problems against anyway. That might, I think that it's possible that the educational level, I know a lot of people, not me myself, us, because once again, my wife has more credentials than I do, but I know a lot of guys that are heavily intimidated by a woman that has a lot of education or is seemingly more intelligent than they are. And I can kind of see that a little bit. I do get heavily intimidated when I think someone is like far and exceeding my intelligence level. Let me see. HOAs are gross. I'm not a huge fan, but it's very difficult to find a new home where you don't have one. You can find houses. If you find a neighborhood that didn't have HOA in the beginning, typically they make you sign into one and you're not bound by that by grandfather clauses. So like speaking about my own neighborhood, there were houses that were here before the builder bought the neighborhood. So those houses are not bound by the HOA. They do what they want. I put up a 6 foot, 8 foot fence, paint my house green, nothing you can do about it. But me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I know it is kind of nice to see my face. It's scary. It is very scary to do this sorts of thing. And this is like me trying to get my 10,000 hours in to get used to being in front of the camera and talking to people and conversing with you guys, because it is it is hard. In the future, I want to make this a regular occurrence where I do this on and I know I'll let you guys know ahead of time. I know that today, like, this was kind of spontaneous, and I said I was gonna go at 3:00, and it was almost 4:00, and it was kind of willy-nilly, and I get that. But in the future, I'm going to make this a more regular occurrence, and I hope that with you guys, will ask me questions, and I can get some interesting questions, and we can kind of talk about them. So I think it'll be fun. I'm glad. I'm always happy when people don't have HOA. I will say this: my brother-in-law original neighborhood didn't have a HOA, and man, it was a house that was painted purple. It was like Prince purple. It was aggressive. So like, it's sometimes I can kind of see when everybody's like either really spaced out or they all in agreement that we're not going to be weird, then it's okay. But it's sometimes I'm like, bro, chill, chill out, chill out. You got your BA in history, took African American classes. You had a few classes with Dr. Dyson. That's awesome. I wish. This is why, once again, why I wanted to go back to school. It's so weird for me because I spoke at Morgan with their media classes. She brought one of the professors brought me in to talk to their specifically about like podcasting and social media content and stuff like that, but also about history. And it is very weird to talk to people in college, and I didn't go to college. Like, that feels like a failure, a failure on my part, a reason to go back. Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm surprised that you guys are here. I'm surprised that people came. I never get a chance to talk to you guys. I never know who's out there, I never know who's out there. So I'm really excited to get to do this and chat with you guys. And I promise we're gonna make this a regular occurrence, and I'm gonna keep doing these things because I want you guys to come and get used to speaking to me, and hopefully, because we had some interesting things that happened. Like, I would have loved to go on live and talk about centers. I never got to really, like, I made videos about it, but I didn't really like talk about it like I would have liked. And also, of course, Nordaway Mansion. Like, I should have been here saying these things. Like, it's great to create a video, but it's also wonderful to get those things off my chest, because I'm always creating scripts. They're very, curated and manicured. And this is me giving you my thoughts fresh. and maybe they and uncensored. Like I might curse. I'll try not to curse. I might though, because sometimes it's some bullshit. Sometimes it's some bullshit. You from Iowa? Ooh, ooh. It's this is a funny thing because I'm well versed in Black history, and 20th century Black experience, that sort of thing. But if you would ask me where things are on the map, like I'm not 100% sure I know where Iowa is on the map. I think it's near Oregon and the boot. It's the boot. It's the boot looking one. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure I know where things are on the map. Anyway, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to chat about. This is one of the reasons why I wish I had more questions that I could answer. So I'm not going to keep you guys. I'm not going to keep you guys too long. I promise to make this a regular occurrence. I'm probably trying to keep this same schedule where I do things on 3 o'clock at 3 o'clock. Also, if you guys like to reach out to me, I am far more active on my Substack. On yeah, see, I know a little bit. I know some things. I'm far more active on my Substack and Threads. I used to be really active on Twitter, but fuck Twitter. Fuck Twitter. So if you guys want to talk to me and reach out to me or ask ask questions about my content, because I post things here, but I don't post. I'm posting things about Black history every day on Substack or every day on Threads. So this is why I posted that here. I'm not only because I'm trying to grow the community. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad that you're here. I'm gonna celebrate you. This video is gonna stay up. I also want to turn this into some content. Maybe I might break this up, post this midweek, maybe chop it up with some videos. I think it'd be really dope. But I'm also like, it's twofold for me. I want to make content out of it, short bit content. But also I want to talk to you guys because I want you to kind of see me and see what I look like and get used to me, and so we can converse. But yeah, I'll make this regular occurrence. Come check me out. Check me if you want to talk to me. Meet me on my Substack or on Threads, and I would love to meet you guys in the future. I'm not gonna hold you. So, peace.